Welcome back to another episode of the Generation Elevation podcast. Now, today I'm joined with a guest who is incredibly magical, and I cannot wait to hear his story today because I know that most of you out there will relate and resonate in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're listening to this podcast. Now, this person is a holistic healing facilitator from the corporate world, once a skeptic, and now is helping people naturally heal their bodies through mindset, through spirituality, and also physical work too. I'll let him explain a little bit more in detail about this as the show goes on, but I'd like to announce to you my guest today, Sukh Pada. Hello.
Hello, Liz. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
My absolute pleasure. Now, Sukh, for people that are listening to this episode today, whether they know you, they know me, or they don't know either of us, right? Why should they tune into this episode?
I suppose the main reason is probably where a lot of people have tried a lot of treatments, a lot of therapies, be it conventional, be it Eastern, they're still suffering from chronic pain, or there's that niggling sensation, even emotionally, that they just can't get rid of. What else is there out there that can really help them? And there are a lot of skeptics out there as well. I was one of them as well. So what we really bring is we look at the body holistically, the whole person view. And sometimes when we find in chronic pain which doesn't go, it's still there. And my example, what I went through as an example, is because there's something still held within the body, be it emotion. Most of the times it is the emotion, because emotions are trapped within different parts and structures of our body. To create that awareness of people that there is something else out there, and how also they can help themselves as well, which is more critical.
Okay, so if you're listening to this right now and you're struggling with burnout or any sort of illness, dis-ease in the body, chronic pain, niggly sensations, whatever it is, they should keep listening because you have the key that could potentially help them, yeah? So tell me a bit about your journey then. For those that don't know you, who are curious about how you got into this, like how do you go from the corporate world to then helping people heal naturally?
I suppose my interest in the human body and sort of health was always in there. I graduated in biology, so I specialised in human anatomy and physiology. Life just took a different turn then. It took me more into the corporate world. So I was in the banking world for a number of years, and before that I was in telcos. But I'd always suffered from sort of niggly back pains, which like a lot of people just ignore. You take the odd painkiller or the anti-inflammatory. But it was also, I didn't realise at the point that my body was slowly telling me, look, there's something up here. You need to take a closer look. I just ignored it until the point came where my body literally just gave way. So really, I was basically semi-paralyzed. And this happened, a small twinge in my back, which I felt at work, just didn't feel right. By the time I got home, I couldn't get out of the car. My brother had to literally carry me out of the car. And there began literally an 8 to 9 month journey at that point, which, took me to the depths of despair, the journey I went to emotionally, physically, everything. I never thought something like this would happen. But unbeknown to me at that time, this was also going to change my life as well when I came out the other end of it.
So in those darker times, what were some of the other things you tried to fix your back, for example?
So initially, we always go, in those days, we're talking about over 20 years ago. So obviously to the GP, painkillers, anti-inflammatories, that didn't work. Then, I had numerous physiotherapy sessions, chiro sessions, osteopathy. I tried spinal traction techniques. I tried steroid injections, anything. Now, they worked, but only for short term. Then I was back near enough to square one. I basically couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then it's anyone who's suffering from chronic pain realize and then begin to have an emotional toll on you as well. I was newly married as well. I was only been married for 3 months as well. And I fell into a really deep depression, fell into addictions, painkillers, alcohol, you name it, anything to just numb the situation I was in. It felt like I was trying to crawl out of a dark, deep hole, but I kept slipping back in. And I wasn't a nice person to be around at that time. My wife, my family and friends were all there to support me. But even though you have all these people around, you still sort of feel on your own because I just couldn't see anything, It was just such a dark place I was at.
I feel like there'll be people listening to this who may actually be at that point in their life and they're tuning into this episode being like, wow, I feel like Sukh is speaking exactly what I'm going through. So what was that breakthrough moment then for you? Like, how did you get out of that?
So the breakthrough moment, I mean, the other thing I think people realize when you have something like back pain and it's this severe, because it's not something people can see, they can't understand that the pain that you're going through. So some of it was, okay, are you really in that pain? Come on, you're okay, get on, shake it off. And it's that sort of hidden chronic pain which people don't see, and then that and how it can affect you mentally. A lot of people didn't get that, especially over 20 years ago. Obviously, there's a lot more, awareness now around mental health, but in those days there was. So how I got out of this, well, a cousin of mine was seeing actually a holistic practitioner in London. So she was seeing him for whiplash, and she said to me, look, why don't you go and see him? And I said, there's no way I'm going to go. It's all mumbo jumbo. I don't believe in any of that. I come from a science background and a corporate world. Everything has to be facts, figures, and scientifically proven. So I had no intention of going. Then my wife said, look, you've tried everything else. Why don't you just give this a go? So I went, and I remember I was carried in. I was laid down on the couch, and the guy started working on my feet and my knees. I was sort of screaming and swearing at him, the pain's in my back, what are you doing there? And then I remember he started to explain to me how the body's connected, how it's all together. At the point I said, look, I don't really care about this, just get rid of this pain. Now, I went to him constantly for 8 weeks. Every week, my wife would drive me up there. And you know what? After about 3-4 weeks, I started to notice a slight change. The pain became less intense, the duration decreased. As I went on, oh my God, the change was unbelievable, but not just in my back, me emotionally as well, I could suddenly see that light, and it just like a cloud has lifted from me. And even internally, my digestive system improved. I was just feeling really, really good all over. And it was just like a wow, eureka moment. It was like, this was amazing. Where has something like this been all this time? It was just an amazing feeling to be able to come out of there and, to regain my independence again, because I was dependent. I couldn't walk, I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't bathe, I was literally just like a cripple. And to be able to get that self-worth back as well, that was really, really important. And I think that was a real turning point for me, my healing journey.
And did you ever find, like, after doing those sessions, did you want to keep going back? Were you scared that it just would be like a quick fix and then it wouldn't work, or some magic potion? Because, like, why my mind's going is, why doesn't everyone else know about this? If it worked for you, like, what about everybody else? Why isn't this rolled out to the rest of the world?
And I suppose, look, when we're talking about this again, over 20 years ago, holistic preventative medicine was still on the fringes. It was still looked upon and frowned upon by, a lot in the medical community, and not that much research has been done on it. But I was skeptical because, I've had all the other treatments. I only worked for a short period of time. And I thought, okay, I feel good and everything, but is this going to be like the rest of them? Is this going to... And at one point, I actually felt worse, believe it or not. I had pains and tingles where I didn't before. So I was thinking, oh my God, it's this guy damaged me even more. I didn't have this pain before. Now I'm getting this pain. And then he explained to me where, muscles, fascia and things like that in the body have been tightened. As he unwinds one bit, it will unwind another bit in my body because it's all connected. Everything's connected. And that's really what I was feeling, sort of muscles, fascia and things like that. I hadn't been used in a while. It was all opening up. So it's a bit like going to the gym after a while when you haven't worked a muscle part, and you do, and you sort of get that muscle fatigue. That's what it was. So there was no neurological damage, which I thought there was. And no, he wasn't making me worse. He's actually making me better. But yeah, again, it was a learning curve for me, because also, like a lot of people, I was still skeptical because this was unconventional. This is not something I'd experienced before. So I was still a little bit hesitant. I think my mind was still looking for excuses. Okay, let me find why is it not working. And I must admit, the practitioner did explain, and what I explained to my health partners now is that, you can get worse before you get better. And when we're dealing with emotional, you can, in most cases, go through darkness before you see the light. And that's really was my healing journey. That's what I was going through then.
And so with that, right, you had your back feeling a lot better. Then how did you come to then facilitate this work?
So I wanted to learn this because it has such a profound effect on me, but I wanted to learn it for me. No intention of setting up a clinic or anything like that. And to help my dad. My dad suffers from back problems, slip disc. So I that was my premise. That's why I wanted to learn it. And I learned it because of my biology background and my human anatomy physiology. There's a lot of exemptions and things, but I then realized when I was actually learning it, my holistic healing journey, that it wasn't about books and texts and learning names. It was intuition. It was really, I had to really let myself go and really tune into myself and the person I was healing. And now anyone who knows who come from sort of a structured corporate background or science background, that's a very difficult thing to do, especially in all your life. You've been brought up the other way. But slowly I did, and it was amazing because then I learned the integration of the body, all the different parts. So even in my biology degree, I learned about all the different systems of the body. But now I was learning how they're all fitted together. So how all these pieces fit together to build this jigsaw, how our emotions dictated our internal being, which then related to our physical. And that was something like, wow. At first, again, I was very skeptical. It did take me a bit of time to really get into it. But once I got into it, it was just like, wow. And then as I was practicing with friends and family, the effects I was getting was amazing. And I remember treating some of my dad's friends who worked in the airport, then word got out. Then I started treating a few more people like this. And in my corporate life, my corporate world, I was working in investment bank, as anyone who knows, is a very cutthroat environment and, very stressful environment. And it was something that I was doing, which was financially very rewarding at a young family. But the more I got into this medicine, I realized it really, really wasn't for me. So when I'd come back in the evening, I'd see one or two clients. And in the weekend, that was really my respite, my chill out moment from my corporate world. And yeah, I got more and more into it.
That's amazing. And so I would love to hear what have been like the most amazing transformations that you've seen from the impacts of this work.
There's a few cases really, when I started off in this journey, I was treating a lot of physical issues, back pain, neck pain, you name it, digestive issues. So with a lot of pain, a lot of people are treated who had sciatic pain, which was the most common. How many people are treated who then didn't need to have the operation? That was really, really phenomenal to be able to help someone. And also to help my dad. These are one of the reasons I got into this, to help him as well, and the effect that it had on him, and how he was much more able-bodied in less pain. And also that the whole premise and the nature of this medicine was preservation of the self, so i.e. me, and how it was helping me and really, making my healing and learning journey deeper as well. Then I moved on to treating, we were able to treat babies and children through people with ADHD, speech impediments, children, babies crying uncontrollably because of colic and, it's not going, and then that pain going. And people don't realize when a baby's like that, the impact it has on the parents. And, and really just for someone to get up, so this has made such a difference to me. I feel so much better. You've really helped me. To hear those words, it's truly amazing. And since then I've gone more into the emotional part of it now as well, which we'll touch on as well. But yeah, I've seen some amazing results, and that's really good to see.
So all the things that you just listed, are they kind of like the most common issues or disease that you see in people that in your clientele?
It is. Normally people come, they may say, so I've suffered from back problems for a long time, or sciatica, or I've got shoulder and neck problem. I've tried everything, nothing's worked. Or it could be there's a whole list of ailments. So because we treat the person and view the person as a whole, yes, the symptomology and the conditions give us good background. But in essence, I always say to my clientele, I don't really treat a symptom or condition. I treat you as a person. So what started off as a back pain, then the way it works is if you can imagine, emotionally, physically, internally, there's layers of imbalances which are built up over time. Even in my case, and there was an emotional imbalance in my case as well, which I didn't realize at the time, but these build up. So when we're actually doing the treatment, we're actually peeling away these layers of imbalances, like peeling an onion till we get to the core. So a lot of people sometimes come in with a physical ailment, such as a bad back, chronic back pain, but when we actually really get to it, then the body just takes us into another realm. Then could be emotional. It can be it's internal. It's actually with the digestive system, which is causing the back pain, and it's not muscular or anything like that as well. So in a lot of cases, we find it's a journey. The healing is a journey. What started off as one condition then can really take us totally different.
Yeah. So what I would love to do for the listeners, let's say like maybe we just start from like lower back all the way up to, the neck or the head. So for example, someone comes to you with a symptom being that they're in like deep pain from their lower back. What intuitively do you feel that means, or the link to what emotion they might be experiencing would potentially be involved in them having that back pain or those things?
So if you look at the lower back area, one of the things at the lower back are your kidneys. In a lot of cases, with a lot of people, it's dehydration. They're not hydrated enough. So you have the kidneys, which are linked to the psoas muscles, which keeps the spine stable. So from a muscular perspective, and all of a sudden, when I look at a person, I can see they're tilting more to one side to the other because the body's adapting. So if the pain is on the right, the body will shift the weight onto the left. That's to keep you moving. So if the bottom half is shifting to the left, the top half will shift to the right, because it's the way the fascia is connected. So your right shoulder fascia line is connected to your left hip. And that's to keep us functioning. But again, like I said, you've got the kidneys there, and they're associated with the emotion of fear. You've got the large intestine in there. So a lot of times people can have digestive issues, diverticulitis, endo, PCOS, etc. Constipation is another big one. And large intestine and lungs, from an emotional perspective, is where people are not able to let go of their feelings. They hold on to a lot. They're not able to express themselves because they're holding on. That's causing a tightness in those structures, which causes a tightness in the fascia as well. So in a lot of cases, when around the hips and the legs, there are stability that provide us strength. But if the person is feeling weak emotionally, those are the things that will give first. And also, if you look at the hips, they're very aligned to the jaw. So a lot of times when we find that the hip is out, the corresponding jaw will be out. A lot of people sort of grind their teeth, especially on the right side, which is liver, which is anger, frustration, stress, which is the most common emotions people go through. So that way we can really correlate, okay, this is what's happening physically. This could be what's happening internally, and this is what could be happening emotionally. So obviously communicating with the client, digging in a little bit deeper with them as well. Then that sort of starts unraveling. And a lot of time, then you see with the clients almost in the eye, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, this happened. And in my own case, it was my kidneys is the emotion of fear, because my dad, everyone always wanted us to be the best at everything. I was newly married, so the fear of letting people down. So part of my healing journey was not just on the physical perspective, it was that emotional perspective as well, fear.
I find all of this very interesting because I've read books like You Can Heal Your Life and The Body Keeps Score by Gary Vanderchalk or something, and Louise Hay. So I'm very well versed in the mix of Eastern philosophies with the medical system of the Western societies as well. And I like linking both. I think there's importance and need for both systems. However, I still haven't found many reassuring studies done on metaphysics, which is just like emotions linking to bodily ailments or anything like this. So I'd love to hear how do you know all this? Where did you find this out? And is there any research being done on this sort of stuff currently?
When I was learning the medicine, it's a Japanese-based medicine, and a lot of it is deep-rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. So anyone knows anything about TCM knows that, we're looking at yin-yang, the seasons, wood element, fire, etc. But that each organ is linked to an emotion. Each organ is linked to an emotion, a season, a color, a smell, a taste. That's where really that sort of knowledge, that basis comes from. But a lot of it that's the theory. But then over 20 years, I've really been applying that theory to real life people. When I've been asking them, okay, your liver feels a bit tired. Do you feel like this? Yes. Eyes sometimes can go red at this time. Yes. And it all links back to that ancient healing, that philosophy that's written down. I know when I was learning this medicine, we also do acupuncture and things. There's a lot of studies being done on acupuncture now. You can get acupuncture, or form of it called dry needling on the NHS. So a lot of studies done on that. There's a lot of studies now connecting the gut-brain axis as well. So there's more and more now being opened up on this. I'm not really currently aware if there's any research done on emotions and organs. We've literally taken it from obviously what traditional Chinese medicine said. But again, I can only go by my experience, where I'm able to reiterate that and reconfirm that for all the cases that I've seen, and from my own personal experience as well. And, now there's a lot of work and research done about fascia. and how fascia stores emotions within the body. There's lots of therapies, and I know, in social media, there's a lot of somatic healing where you can see the person's really sort of shaking and moving as the trauma, as the emotion is being released. And really the effect it has on them afterwards. And, we get that in clinic all the time. Not every time it's that dramatic, but, it's that sense of the emotional release. And then my pain isn't so bad now. How we can link it. For example, knee pain, we say is linked to the kidneys. Kidneys is fear. So weakness in the knees is fear. And that way, because we have the knowledge of what it is, then we reconfirm that with the client. And, and I think that's the crux of it and how it really works. And it is, I always say it's a two-way therapy. It's because I'm really, as you introduced me, I'm the facilitator. So what we're really doing is enhancing, activating your own innate healing. That's really what we're doing. And we do that by my subconscious connecting with yours and your body guiding us where it needs healing. I think that's the real part of it. And that's the part a lot of people, when they're listening to it, maybe not get it. It's more when you actually experience the treatment and the therapy itself, then you sort of understand, okay, what do I really sort of mean by that?
Yeah, and I really love your answer on this. Also, like we said, there's not much research being done in terms of emotions and that links to dis-ease in the body. But in terms of like future and where you see that science going in the next 10 years, like what would you like to see come from that sort of research?
I'd like to see more, sort of research on, there's a lot of research being done on brain waves and brain activity when we're exposing to individuals to certain stimuli or emotions. So one of the ones that we're really good to do is, when we're part of the physical treatment that we're doing, as you experience as well, is, for example, if we are, and I've done it so many times, where we are releasing tension in the liver, for example, that emotional, that part of the brain that should be activated, I think, sort of research like that, which really reconfirm what we're doing physically is having an impact emotionally, but measured through sort of brainwave activity. But I see it like rapid eye movement. I can see it in tears in people. I can see it in changes in breath, intensity, and just that real sort of letting go. But to really get that sort of, should I use the word, scientifically measured? And I think hopefully more and more will progress that way, because 20 years ago, no one was doing any research on acupuncture. No one looked at the gut to the brain axis. And now, a lot more is happening in that space. I'm hoping more and more will look at this, especially the brainwave activity in the body.
So just shifting topics a little bit, right? So let's say someone is listening to this episode right now and maybe they've been feeling a niggle. How does one listen to their body? When is the point where you go, okay, I need to stop, I need to listen? And how does one do that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think it's always, look, I didn't listen. So I listened when my body gave way. And it's really like my body telling me, Sukh, I was trying to tell you, but you didn't listen to me. A lot of the times, even pain, negative emotions, it's our body's language. It's how it's communicating to us that there's something wrong. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, you say, oh, shut up. We take a painkiller. We shut out that pain. A lot of it is really, a lot of the work you do as well, Elise, it's that meditation, it's that breath work, really then tuning into your body. Because when I'm working with clients, one thing I try and stress to them in between sessions that it's to use the breath work, it's to use meditation, really start tuning in with yourself. And when we're doing the work, as we're lifting these imbalances, a lot of people do then naturally, intuitively connect with themselves more, with their body. Like I could be on the neck and they say, Sukh, I feel something in my toe. Now say, okay, now you're getting it. That's where I'm working. Now you're getting more and more connected. But really, to start off with, it's really, we just need to take space out for ourselves, find that quiet 10 minutes, because we're all running at 100 miles an hour. Oh my God, this is wrong. Okay, let me just quickly take this so I can keep functioning. But you would do that for a short term, but then your body is a machine. It's going to come to a point where it's literally just had enough. And we see a lot of that cases in burnout, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical. So it's really, really, really take that step back. Because as I said, we've got that innate healing within us. We all have this ability, but it's just, just trusting ourselves more, I think.
So then what's your take on burnout? Because let's say someone is living a very busy lifestyle, they're on the go consistently, and they don't really have that time to not just like take 10 minutes or whatever. Everyone has 10 minutes, but like a day off. Maybe they need just a day off, but they can't afford that, or they're struggling to organize that because of all the things that they've got to get done in the next month. What would be your advice to those people like that are going through that exhaustion?
Really, also, what it comes down to, I know sometimes this is easier said than done, and I get that. I get a lot of busy mums, a lot of busy parents, kids have got like 10 different school activities, after school activities, you've got work and everything as well. But, even if you are it's mindset and getting into that routine. If you are getting into that routine where you, get up literally half an hour early, but you don't have to physically get up, just lay in bed, do your intention, do your breath work. But if you start doing that every day, the effects are cumulative. It's not one off. Then, you're doing it 10 minutes a day. That's 20 minutes over 2 days, So you're getting into an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours a week. Then you start feeling the benefits. Diet is really important. What we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies, it's fuel. So we've got to start off our day right with the right intention, not just emotionally, but physically. People just get up straight into the bath and go. I get up first. I do my meditation. I do my breath work. I do my tapping and my stretching just to start my body getting it ready for the day. We wouldn't jump in a car, started and just rev it and go off. We warm it up. We've got to do the same with our body. And parents, I'll say to them, when you start doing that, we are all energy at the end of the day. The positive energy that we start radiating, our children will absorb it. When they see you doing, they think it's normal. Because one of my biggest things is really to get this next generation to think this is normal. I've got 2 sons who are 20 and 21. They had no choice. They were born into this. But, so it's also part of what I do is education, to teach children. And when I see children coming in and they feel the benefits, and the greatest thing is when they parents say, oh, so-and-so said themselves that they want to come back again. So the child themselves wants to come back because they're seeing the benefit of it. I think that's the most beautiful thing. And we really are setting people up for that next generation. And I say to people, we've got to be more proactive with our health. We're too reactive. We'll seek help, or we go to a doctor, whatever, when, we've had the issue. So why can't we do anything we can do to prevent us getting from to that state as well?
Yeah, I think for me personally in my journey, the alarm bells were going off, but it was like too busy putting everyone else first. And you would get this too as like someone who serves the community and facilitates this sort of healing work. It's super important to make sure like your cup is full, because if you're serving from a place of like autonomy and just habitual behavior, it loses its energy and it loses its ability to heal, I believe. And so yeah, for me, I've noticed like when I'm facilitating an event from like a half empty cup, it is not as successful as it is when I am completely high vibe and giving it everything. So I can definitely resonate with that. I definitely can be guilty sometimes of putting too many things and saying yes in my calendar, because my human design is a generator, and like stereotypically I'm generalizing myself here, but I love doing stuff and being on the go, and achievement is one of my highest values. So saying no to doing things can be hard for me, and instead of just resting and taking a day off, I will just have a cup of coffee and keep going, but there's only so long that you can do that for, right? And I see people, especially in London, like I never really experienced this fully in Australia because I was living in a small country town, right? But in like the corporate world of London, you just see people who can't function without a coffee, who can't function without like specific things in their life to like give them that hit. So whether it be, going out and partying and drugs, or alcohol, having a pint at the pub like every night because they have to have that, otherwise they can't function properly or be calm, or that coffee to keep them going, or that Red Bull in the afternoon, the energy drink. Like it's wild. It's something that I've never really been exposed to until coming here. And so like even for me, I definitely got sucked into that for a little bit. And now I'm conscious when I have like any sort of caffeine in my life, because I know that it's super easy to rely on and therefore completely disregard what your body is trying to tell you, which is get more sleep.
Definitely. And we have this misconception that if we have a lazy day or a day off, oh my God, no, I should be doing this. But people don't realize doing that or doing nothing is so super powerful and healing. For example, you're going to a gym, you're building muscle. That it's when you rest in between is when you get the muscle build and the growth. It's the same for us, same for our mind. And I totally get where you're coming from, Elise, because this year I put a big focus on my self healing as well, because you're right. If the cup is only half full, how can we heal others? So I put a great emphasis. I was working 7 days a week, but now I've said, right, no, I'm going to take 2 days off a week now. I'm working with another fellow therapist, so she's treating me, fascia release, etc. I've had all my scans and my blood tests and things done. So I'm really, really now putting more emphasis on me as well, because now I'm realizing, I'm getting older, so we have to put that much more focus on ourselves. Then I'm able to give back more, because if I'm not in that right state of mind physically as well, then, how am I supposed to help other people as well?
You know what's really interesting, and I think you'll love this too. Like for me, most of my life, I've trained maybe 4 or 5 times per week in the gym and running, etc. So I got in the start of the year a really great rhythm of training like minimum 4 times a week. And lately, like this month has been extremely busy with my work and events, and I'm so grateful. I was explaining to you before, guys, so grateful. And it's meant that like I've had to sacrifice some of the days that I'm training, because it's actually impossible for me to fit it in whilst getting enough sleep and all of the other things that like routinely I have to do. So I've been like tracking my stats lately, because I've been doing an experiment about the importance of training your mind and how that can impact performance and your life in terms of achieving your goals. So my goal is to facilitate my workshops for a professional sport team. Right? And that way I can track the data of mindfulness-based interventions on a group of people who live very similar lives. So there's less confounding variables that impact that study that I will facilitate one day, right? So that's my goal. And I've been tracking everything for the last month. Anyway, I did a body fat scan the other day and found out that in that month of training less, because some weeks would be 3 times a week, 2 times a week. So in my mind, I was feeling a little bit guilty, because I was like, I've been training less. I've been training hard, but less. Mentally, it was messing with me. I jumped on this scan and I'd put on muscle and lost body fat. And I was like, wow, isn't it interesting, right? We can put so much pressure on ourselves to do, to be and get things done, especially in terms of like high performers who can overtrain themselves, to then actually have more rest and realize that that can take you further than training too often can.
And that in itself is a form of burnout as well. Emotionally and mentally, a lot of people because I see a lot of people who've overtrained or haven't trained the right way, coming in with those sort of injuries. I see a lot of people, like yourself, who really go into gym and they can't. It's that guilt that they start having. It's another form of that hit that they need. But in a lot of those cases, when we delve deeper, there is that there's something emotional is happening that the body is craving, because emotions are things which are stored within our body from conception to when we're born. Something could have happened to us, at the age of 8. And now we're like 40, now we've got this physical symptomology, but it's triggered that emotion, something has triggered it, which is now causing a symptom within the body. So a lot of the time when we do this sort of work, we're unraveling, we're going back, and it becomes like a story.
So I then have a question for you, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be curious as well. You said emotions are stored in the body, right? And this is something that I teach as well, but I'd love to hear how you would explain, how does someone feel an emotion and let it go? Let's say they've had a trigger, they've experienced something traumatic, or they have felt like anger, sadness, fear. How does someone let that go so it doesn't stay stored in the body?
Really, really good question, and one with a lot of people struggle with. Now, when I'm treating people, and I can say, look, even if we're doing the body balance, you can get an emotional release, because we're working at tissue release level. If you cry. You shout, you want to swear, you swear. Just don't get physical. Anything else goes. And I say, if you cry, I will not stop you. I will not give you a tissue or anything, because I don't want to stop that emotion. I want it to carry on. And I explain that to people. It's fine. You go home, you're angry, grab a pillow, scream and shout into the pillow, punch the pillow, whatever you need to do. But don't keep that emotion in. We're very the British way, stiff upper lip, keep it all in, especially with guys, especially South Asian guys. And I'm one of them. We've been brought up, showing emotion is a sign of weakness. Keep it in. You're the pillar of the family, the community. You've got to keep everything hidden in and be that stronger person. I see a lot of women who struggle with doing that. They're the mom, the daughter-in-law, the mother, the sister, the wife. So everything's on their shoulders, and with guys as well. So it's really, it's relearning to an extent. I've had to do it. I've got 2 school friends. We've known each other for over 40 years. And we were just talking, and once we were just out for a birthday, and one of them just shared something, and we'd never known. And then I shared something to my other friend, and then without us knowing, we became our support network. But go back 10 years ago, we said something, I feel like this. Oh, don't be silly, just go and have a drink. What are you talking about, But because we're conditioned to be like that. And this is one of the reasons I love working with children, with teenagers, and things like that, because we're changing that mindset now. And really working especially with dads as well. I'm 53, so that sort of age group as well, working with them. And I'm getting more guys coming in now because they're also role models for their children. They see dads doing this. The son says, okay, that's fine for me to do it. I see the likes of Juggy you've had in there. And, again, these guys are role models out there, and the amazing journey that they're on, it influences other people that it's okay to come. And we need more and more of that, because once we start doing that and start letting go, the transformation is unbelievable, and I'm living proof of that, because I went through it myself, because crying and everything when I was going through, oh my God, why am I feeling like there's something wrong with me, But it's my body letting go. And in clinic, obviously, we see a lot of people going into spasm or shakes or moving a lot. There's nothing to be frightened, nothing to be scared of. That's just the body letting go. It's like, say there's a deer being chased by a lion and it's got away afterwards. It will shake uncontrollable. That's that fear, that trauma coming out of it as it's at rest. It's the same with the body as well. And I think we've just got to come to terms with it, that it's natural, and it's okay to have a meltdown. It's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. This doesn't mean that there's anything mentally wrong with us. It's just a way to let go and release. And I think that's really important.
So for the listeners who are like, okay, I need to let go of this emotion, you're saying to share with others, be vulnerable.
If they feel comfortable,
and to
again, it
feel
comes back to the earlier point. The more you become in tune with yourself through the meditation, the body, when you go in and you ask yourself, what do I need to do? The answer will be there. If it needs to be, you need to share with X. Sometimes it could be you journal, you write. Okay, you've got phones, put a note in. I'll say to people, if it's a negative emotion, write what it is, tear it up, throw it away, burn it. Boom, that's negative emotion gone. Don't expect instant results, but it's a process. You're working through it. Next time that layer's gone, now another emotion will come. So use these sort of techniques. It may sound crazy. Look in the mirror, talk to yourself. How do I feel? Why am I feeling like this? What could it be? Really, I think holding that space for yourself is not just sitting there in silence. It's sitting there in communication with yourself, verbally or subconsciously. And the more, like I said, we come in tune with our body, we start listening to our body, we will be able to have those answers ourselves. It's like a mother. She intuitively knows when a child is ill or there's something. My wife still does it without 2021. She'll know that there's something up with them or whatever, even before I do. Obviously, a mother's relationship is a symbiotic, is a different, but again, it's that intuitiveness. And I think over time we have lost that. And we just really need to get back into that alignment, that spirituality, whatever you want to call it, I've done a lot of work on third eye meditation and things, open myself up spiritually. I'm really sort of understanding and being more non-judgmental, accepting what there is that's going to come up. And I would say to people when we're doing emotional work, don't hold back, don't judge anything. Don't be self-critical. Even our negative emotions are part of us. It's defined us. Anger is not just a negative emotion. It will protects us as well. So that point in time, the anger that you felt was a self-protective thing. But the only thing is, you're holding it on too long. You just need to now let it go and work through it.
That I think is really helpful for a lot of people. And so, just to summarize, right, for dot point notes for people, meditation, sharing if you need, asking your body, what do I need right now? Yeah. Treating yourself like your best friend, with love and care, and potentially using things like journaling or writing a voice note, getting it out of your mind onto paper or into an external environment will help.
shout, scream, sing, dance, whatever you need to do to get that emotion, whatever it is. And remember, we are all work in progress. I always say to people, we're not going to get rid of every single emotion you've had, but we want to get rid of what is impacting you right now. And then you'll start seeing deeper within yourself. When we do this emotional work and we're lifting away these layers of imbalances from people, it's like the clouds are going and, there's sunlight. It changes people's perspective. It changes how they approach things. All that really, really evident during COVID, where people are, you know what, I don't want this corporate life. I want to go back to studying. Or no, I always want to be an artist. I'm going to go into art.
Well, that stillness, right? It forces you to really like tune into your body, yeah, and have that time and space to actually think about or tune into your intuition. I love this conversation so much, Sukh. And so for the listeners who are tuning in and they hear still and they want to figure out how they can connect with you or potentially do a session, how can they find you and your page?
Yeah, we're all on social media. So it's Bodisync. That's BODISYNC, bodysync.com, info@bodysync.com. Just get in touch with us, DM us. You'll see on our Instagram page all of the different things we've done. You see on our website, there's tons of information of all the different therapies that we do and how they all sort of work together as well.
Amazing. And for every guest appearance that I do on this show, I always end with this same question. So I want you to tune into your intuition, okay, on what you feel every person in the audience right now, the collective, needs to know.
Love yourself.
How does one love themselves more?
By accepting who they are. There's no right or wrong. We all go through periods and ebbs and flows in life. Just because we're going on a negative ebb doesn't make us a bad person. I think we need to understand that more. And even the depths that I hated myself. Oh my God, what have I done? Questioning lots of things. But it's a journey. I always believe we all have a purpose in life. And everything that happened to me, all that negative stuff, would I change it now? No, I wouldn't, because it's brought me here and I'm doing what I do. So, what I would say to people, even if you're going through really bad time and everything, it's temporary. It's that journey that we're on. You will look back on and say, you know what? Okay, that happened to me, but I learned from it. I've become a stronger person for it. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson or advice I can give anyone, just going through my own personal circumstances as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.